And good morning. Let me kill the music there. How is everybody doing on a Saturday morning? And I hope you have survived the storms very well. There is a lot of them that have been going across the South and continue to do so, as well as other parts of the country. It is absolutely horrific tornadoes and other things that have occurred. And let's keep those in prayer who have suffered through the night. These storms can be violent, and there has been a lot of damage and death and destruction, unfortunately, across the U.S. Some people were commenting last night of the bad weather signals that they were getting from the weather, and how they were just, all you can do is batten down the hatches, as they say, and ride it out, ride the storm out, and try to do the best you can. And hopefully they were able to do that. But there is a number that are dead, a number that are dead. So let's be thinking about that. We did get a little rain here in my area last night, here in the North Georgia, as we broadcast from the banks of the Southern Fried River, as it gently flows through the South on down to Robb in South Georgia and empties in parts unknown into Florida. Uh, I am your host, Dave in the AM. If you've never been here before, this is Southern Fried Podcast, but we are called the Southern Fried Cornbread Nation. So our Cornbread Nation shows on Thursday nights. Skip this week because due to sickness, we'll return next week, where we have such features as Rob's Fan Mail, Great Bread Edited Histories, Jacklegs, and the Redneck Destination, among other things that occurs. I do a little about half the shows alone, and then Rob joins me for seven shows during the week. We also have some short features, of which I usually film those on Sunday. I had some sickness. My wife's been in the hospital as well. She fell and is in rehab. So I missed a little bit last week, but normally through the week, your daily MAGA Minute and Bible devotion are released early on Monday through Friday. Those will return this week. We'll get those filmed tomorrow. We project out. It's amazing what days. Now, I have filmed them in the middle of the week, but I try to do those on Sundays. And it is amazing what is filmed through the week, and how that day when it comes out, the news actually hits about that really, really interestingly. So I just find that that's amazing that it occurs that way. We do some weekend programming as well. In the morning, be Sunday morning in the Word with me, and then tomorrow evening, usually around 9, we have the news desk, and sometimes some other pop up shows. We do have 2 sports shows: a racing show, which is been on Tuesdays right now, while my co-host is off work due to surgery. That usually flips between Tuesday and Thursday. And then the regular sports show, the Southern Fried Sports, is Wednesday or Friday, depending on work schedules. And we're trying to get those young men in here together. So my co-host is actually Dean and James. If they're watching today, shout out to you as we broadcast live this Saturday morning. Just a chit chat, Southern Talk. Southern Talk. I know, great topic. I am continuing to monitor the story of Joe Biden's the release of the Herd documents and audio recordings specifically is occurring today. And it's quite embarrassing, as I covered it quite extensive last night during the MAGA Report, which is your nightly news late night, covering all things MAGA. That will continue to be the story of the day. The Sunday morning shows will concentrate on that, I'm sure. And then going into Monday, because this is going to be very embarrassing for the previous administration and those people around him who protected that, who helped facilitate that. And so very, very damaging. Forgetfulness, not having to ask, stuttering, great pauses in between responses. No matter who you're for, this is not good. No matter which side of the aisle you're on, or if you could care less, it is absolutely embarrassing for anyone to be put in that position. The fact that our country was suffering under it is criminal. and someone needs to go to jail. I'm firm on that. They knew what they were doing. They withheld vital information from the public. We can't have that happen. Good morning, Miss Jen. He should have been in. He should have been, even though the options were not great at the time. He should have been removed from office. That was questioned many times. It was scoffed at by the Democrats. The media defended him to the bone, and now it's all going to come out for the world to hear and to see. Transcripts, audio recordings, and the like, which are coming online very quickly. It's unbelievable. Me and Rob briefly touched on this story. I'm not going to deep dive into it. Um, but I had watched quite a bit the Murdaugh trial in South Carolina. Now, I didn't know who these people were. I remember hearing the story about the people being killed. That's when I picked up on the story, when the wife and son were killed. And then real close to that afterwards, he was shot, supposedly, which he was, but it was set up. Alex Murdaugh. And when that trial came, I deep dived into that, watched a lot of the trial, went back and read a lot of things about what was going on in that trial and with that family. And in that trial, Becky Hill, who was attached to that trial, broke the rules, and I think broke the law. And I, you know, she's gotten in some trouble as well. But legal experts are arguing whether his trial conviction should be overturned. This is the danger of that. Okay, let's say someone is, I mean, he looked guilty of sin and was proven to be that in a court of law. But because of this, and because there's a question, there is that possibility. Whether it really happened or not, that's to be determined. That will have to go, probably will be the local court, maybe all the way to the state Supreme Court, maybe even the Supreme Court. Who knows? This thing could play out over many years, or it could be very, very soon. Who knows? But then they would have to all the expense of putting on a trial again, all because somebody couldn't resist the urge to get their 15 minutes of fame and try to make some money off of it. I think she should, be in jail for that, or at least be charged, rather, indicted and have to answer for that. She should never, at the very least, be allowed to be a part of any court system ever again. I think once you've broken that trust, just like a law enforcement person, that person should never be allowed to be serving a court as a court clerk or a stenographer or anything else attached to a court, because they have cost, the state a lot of money and the possibility of setting a killer free, or at least to the extent of a new trial. And I think there's no debate in that. But she was charged with obstruction of justice and misconduct. There's the court clerk who read the guilty verdicts against Alex Murdaugh in that case. Rebecca, known as Becky Hill, was arrested early Wednesday morning in Colleton County, South Carolina, and charged with obstructing justice, 2 counts of misconduct, according to court records. She was also charged with 1 count of perjury in Richland County, South Carolina. 2 of those charges are related to Murdaugh's 2023 murder trial. She was released on personal bond, and she's accused of making available photographs that were sealed evidence, which prevented, obstructed, impeded, hindered, or potentially impeded or hindered the administration of justice during Murdaugh's trial for the murders of his wife and son, according to an arrest warrant for the obstruction of justice charge. Hill is also accused of allegedly using her position as the clerk of court to promote her book, Behind the Doors of Justice, The Murdaugh Murders, resulting in one of the misconduct charges, according to the arrest warrant. The second misconduct charge appears unrelated to the Murdaugh trial. In Richland County, Hill is also facing a perjury charge for false, misleading, or incomplete testimony she gave during an evidentiary hearing to establish if Murdaugh should get a new trial. Hill allegedly lied under oath when during testimony she was asked, quote, "Did you allow anyone from the press to view the sealed exhibits?" End quote, by former State Chief Justice Jean Toel. Hill responded, "No, ma'am." The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED as they're typically known out there, which released the arrest warrants, have been investigating Hill since early 2024 over allegations of jury tampering in Murdaugh's murder trial and whether she had used her elected position for personal gain. Murdaugh's attorneys, of course, Jim Griffin and Dick Harpootlian, released a statement saying the charges were not surprising for them. Quote, "We are aware of the charges filed against Becky Hill, and while these developments are serious, they are not surprising. We have long raised our concerns about her conduct during and after the trial, and this arrest further underscores the need to protect the integrity of the judicial process. Every defendant is entitled to a fair and impartial trial, and we look forward to Alex Murdaugh finally getting that fair treatment," the attorney said. In late 2023, Murdaugh's legal team requested a new trial based on those allegations that Hill tampered with the jury by making comments implying Murdaugh's guilt to jurors. Last year, Toel, a retired Supreme Court of South Carolina's Chief Justice, said that Hill was, quote, "attracted by the siren call of celebrity," end quote, and made improper comments to the jury, but ruled the comments did not influence the verdict it reached. Quote, "I simply do not believe that the authority of our South Carolina Supreme Court requires a new trial and a very lengthy trial such as this on the strength of some fleeting and foolish comments by a publicly influenced clerk of courts," Toel said. Murdaugh's team has since appealed that ruling. This undoubtedly will probably go all the way to the Supreme Court. Hill has repeatedly denied the allegations against her, but resigned her position of clerk of court in March 2024. She maintained her resignation was unrelated to the state investigations. Well, it's people like this. I mean, when you go into, um, I mean, it could be in business. It could be, of course, working for the state or the county or the uh, whatever it may be. It could be elections, which I do, and working for the county in elections. There is there are things that you just don't say. There are rules. There are rules you have to follow. There's rules in elections. There's rules, and we work around courts. There are things you just can't do. You can't talk. You can't say. You are, sworn to secrecy on certain things, on certain matters. And she has shown that she can't do that because, as he said, she wanted to make some money. Let's be face it. She wanted her name in lights, and he's a sleaze bag. Sure, he's a murderer. I mean, the whole family had issues. They didn't deserve to be killed. There's a lot of problems with that family out in South Carolina. That's a story for another day. But the basis of this morning's conversation is, you know, it's a tightrope, and I get it. They have to make a judgment call on whether they think that her actions influenced the jury enough that there should be a new trial. Of course, the guilty party is hoping for that. Nobody wants to be in jail. He would hope that he got that, even if he had to stay in jail, at least have a hope of a new trial. They always appeal those things. I think this one's pretty strong. Sometimes it's just the actions of lawyers, evidence that was included in a trial, something the lawyer said, or something the judge allowed. These are usually the bases for appeals, most of the time, which are denied, but occasionally are allowed. And it could be anything from hung jury to convicted again to not guilty. There is that danger. Um, would all things be allowed to be presented? Did she take evidence now that couldn't be presented if there was a new trial that was granted? These are all problems. And the public sits back and screams, this is wrong, this is a guilty, but there has to be those protections for the one accused. And if that went far enough, he would undoubtedly get a new trial. I doubt it would be released. I think they would hold him. due to the nature of the crime and the influence and he has in that county or had. I don't know if he still has any kind of influence. Certainly probably has some friends still out there. There are probably some that might help him. And they would say he was a fear of escape or whatever, fleeing. Um, and he was known to intimidate people into trying to. Uh, in fact, the night of his son's boat crash, which killed the young lady, God bless her memory. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name right now. No offense intended. Um, but yeah, it was just absolutely uh, intimidation as he walked around and tried to influence witnesses that were on the boat and was flashing badges and stuff. So they would probably keep him in jail. He would definitely stay in jail, but he could get a new trial. And at the very least, to think of all the work of a trial, and that was a massive trial. That was a lot of evidence, a lot of DNA, a lot of digital evidence, and things like that. Hello, Jake. Yes, be careful. A lot of storms traveling across the south, brother. A lot of people are unfortunately lost their lives last night. Double digits, and a lot of destruction. Be safe. Thank you, Jake. Uh, but yeah, but going back to Becky Hill or Rebecca Hill, good for them. I'm glad they charged her at least. And I wonder how she feels about. I'm sure she wants a day in court that is free of obstruction or influenced by anyone trying to influence the jury or anything else. It's interesting now she's on the other side of that. And so, she would want her trial to be fair. She would want, if it goes to trial, she's been indicted. If it goes to trial, she would want uh, that same protection that she did not afford Alex Murdaugh. To what extent, I don't know that it'll get a new trial. It sounds like they're going to try not to do that, but this will appeal all the way to the Supreme Court. It'll take some time to play out. I would not be surprised if he did get a new trial, to be honest with you. I would not be surprised at all because of the level that it involved and their access to the jury and or things that she wrote about. It would not surprise me one bit. Although I would be just as comfortable as if they were able to say, we're just going to charge her. He doesn't get a new trial. He's guilty. I mean, obviously, I think his guilt, once he admitted that he was on that video that he did not know was there, that audio recording from the Snapchat or whatever it was, because his whole defense was, I was never there. Then he had to admit he was there. And his timeline, everything, I mean, from there, he was sunk. That's why he testified in defense of himself against lawyers' advice. He knew he was cooked, and he tried to, appeal on the human side, call him Paw and, having this great love for his wife, which they weren't getting along, living separately, and falling on the mercy of the court with his drug use. He's just was not a good person, and he killed his wife and son, convicted, and I'm sure in a second trial he would be convicted as well. But this person, I don't know this person personally. May have done a lot of great things in her life, but this is absolutely disgusting. You know, and it's if I know that the justice is not perfect in America, but we got to do the best we can. We have to keep it as fair and as constitutional and everything as it should be. Absolutely, and those protections are there. And you just don't want things that to be, be allowed to be said or mentioned around a jury or whatever that would lead people to be maybe swayed that to a guilty verdict that might be on the fence. I don't know that in this case there was anybody or anything like that even close. But that's not the question. The question is, did it have the potential to do that And did she do enough damage to that case uh, that now there's the possibility it gets a new trial? So we'll see what happens out of this. These are felony charges, multiple felonies, and it was a highly uh, a lot of news publicity, high publicity trial. It was across the world. Even people were really paying attention to this from across the world. Certainly, excuse me. Certainly from across the United States. A lot of people were covering this on many podcasters were covering it. In fact, one person filed Freedom of Information Act, and maybe a couple, but I know several who filed and got the jail recordings. And I listened to just about all those. And these were recordings that he had, he being Alex Murdaugh, with his still alive son and other family members, uh, phone calls and things where he had talked to them. There was a time when he really thought he was going to get out. He was telling them to have his brother to help his son, and he would take care of it when he got out and everything. And then, of course, he was joking about gambling and different things. He very much believed he was going to beat this thing. So there was a lot of attention on the trial. And then she had to do that. Like I said, she resigned. She was elected to that position. She should just never be a part of any trial ever again. I mean, how could you have someone like that? And that's what people. Now she did this of herself, but there are those people that want to hurt America, and they offer up money to get people to sell state secrets, military secrets, and stuff like that. And unfortunately, at the highest levels, including the FBI and CIA, and there's those people that have greed. Greed takes over, and they sell us out. They sell sensitive information on military hardware, on information that that's very sensitive, no matter nuclear programs and nuclear weapons, the schematics of planes and ships and missiles and whatever else, and these scumbags who sell us out to the Chinese or Russians or whoever, and there's several of them that are, serving the rest of their life in jail for treason. They should. Then you have people like this that go into a court, working for a court, and they, for their own personal gain or their own ego, their own, wanting their name in lights, they do something stupid. And so I'm just glad, because at the time they were like, this is a nothing burger, but I'm glad that they did look into that. And so she's charged with obstruction of justice and misconduct, and one charge that's not even a part of. I'm interested to know more about that. What was the other charge that's even unrelated to the Murdaugh trial? Maybe there's another case, that something else they discovered that she did in that job for another case. Could we be hearing about another appeal for possible retrial because this lady decided to try to use her position to make her riches, or to get her name out there? So good for SLED, that South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, for following through, because sometimes people in these, but the biggest charge is that she showed, if I get my words out, tongue twister, sealed evidence. I mean, my gosh. I mean, I think at that point she should have been arrested right then. But they went through the investigation. I'm not a lawyer, and I would just have to wait. We seen what the former Chief Justice said. He didn't think that it was enough, but there'll be others that will weigh in, and there will be some that she also lied. She's a liar when she was questioned about this on the stand. So not only has she broken the trust of her between her and the law enforcement division, state of South Carolina, basically. Not only has she endangered a major case, she's also shown herself to be a liar. And then she's also shown herself to be greedy by wanting to make money off of it for her own personal gain, for her book, and other things. So I hope she gets the full penalty because, again, if that's me on the stand and I'm innocent, what if I'm innocent? Now he looks guilty of sin, but what if I'm innocent and she influenced the jury for conviction off of what if it was made up evidence, or what if someone like this introduced evidence, that false evidence? That's the danger here. Juries are evaluating I mean, this case had a lot of evidence. I mean, a lot of evidence. I mean, from the experts that were testifying about the entry wounds of the bullets, and all how that they were killed, and where they were killed, and the position of the weapons, to the DNA of clothing, to the phone evidence. That's where they found that Snapchat. They know he picked it up. He admitted that. To her phone being slowed down. They even knew how fast the car was going, and slowed down at the place that he throwed it out. They knew when he left. They knew when he arrived at his mother's. They knew how long it was there. They had the maid's testimony, uh, testing of clothing. I could say clothing, timelines. They had his own wife who was concerned about the visit, saying he's up to something. Told a friend that. But there was a lot of things to sift through here. A lot of things. The boat crash itself that led up, the shooting that he arranged to be shot in the head, to show that there were people after him as well. Which, when you first heard it, you thought, my goodness, we've got some assassins out here. Little we know, it was just one assassin, and the assassin was faking his own injury. Uh, we just found out what a sleazebag he was. He was stealing people's money that they had got in personal injury, because that's what he was, personal injury lawyer for a big firm. Um, he was a drug abuser. Just on and on and on. His youngest boy was, I don't speak ill of the dead, but the boat crash that killed the young lady. He's drunk. Dad's down there trying to influence the witnesses to get them not to testify, or to, not imply that his son was at fault. That case was resting out there. They were coming after that estate for a lot of money to the family. The girl, unfortunately, her body was not found for a while. It just, and then there's other connected potential cases that's never been put forth. The death of the young man who was gay, who some believe the other son was involved. That's never been proven. This is a massive trial, and then this lady takes it upon herself to put all that in jeopardy. And you would hate for a jury to have to sit through that. Some of the testimony is very. You've got crime scene photos. You've got. It's just unbelievable, the shotgun blast to his boy and what it did there. And I know he did some bad things, but again, nobody should die that way, especially at the hands of their own daddy. My God. And this lady, just do your job, lady. Just do your job. And there's no question, this guy's convicted. He goes away for the rest of his life. And people heal up the best they can. But you have put in jeopardy all of that. You have given this piece of trash a pathway to get a new hearing. And then, like I said, who knows what would happen? They now know what the state has, every bit of it. It's hard to get witnesses to recall exactly the years later. The more longer it goes, it's a little more difficult. It gives the defense more ways to poke holes in their testimony. They could address it from a total different direction, knowing that it was there. They could all come up with all kinds of things and saying, well, it was obvious that they were trying to convict this man, and look, their own court clerk was involved. I mean, all it is casting doubt, right? It's what a defense lawyer's job is, to cast doubt on the potential. 100%, I believe they're guilty, and that's all they need to do. And this is enough. Whether that could be entered into this, if there was a second trial, I don't know. Maybe there's evidence from their first trial that's not even allowed to be entered. Maybe they get some things blocked that were critical. Maybe, what if they got the video, the audio somehow struck out? I don't know how they could, but what if they did? That was central to the conviction of this man. You can't bring up everything. You can't bring that stuff up from the first trial. It's a total new trial. What if you get evidence? What if What if you move the location of the trial? What if you say do all this publicity? They move it a state over or something. Total different jury doesn't maybe know that much about this. That's the danger that she has put in this trial. And then the pain of all the people that were involved that are living, the pain of that, going through that again, just because this lady decided I'm gonna make myself rich or well known or whatever the case may be, so I can, write books. It just makes you sick. I've served on juries. I've been in several courtrooms. It's been a few years, but it is interesting to watch, folks. You know, but things are sealed for a purpose. I know people are watching trials. They want fast justice, and trials are slow sometimes, especially a trial like this. And every piece of evidence that is sealed, that's why you have all that. Is to guarantee that they've not just thrown the thing around in an evidence room and everybody's picked it up. That they have it sealed, they have it labeled. It's cross-matched through several different ways that they sealed that evidence. And if anything is broken out of that, you can't enter that. Now, those things she showed, that's probably damaged goods now. That probably cannot be shown if there was a new trial, because she spoiled the sealed evidence. That's how bad this is. And I certainly think she should go to jail for a while. Certainly, stepping down is one thing, but she certainly should serve some time to discourage others from doing something like this. Imagine if that was your son or daughter or wife or whatever that that this person had killed. And you're sitting there and you got the conviction, you're moving on, still with a deep hole in your life, an empty spot for your wife and son. What if that was you or me? And then all of a sudden, because of this lame brain, there's the potential that the killer gets a new trial. What if he got parole? I don't bond. What if there's a hung jury next time? Maybe he's not convicted. Maybe it's a hung jury. And they decide it's just you got to do it a third time. And then what if it that hung again or not guilty? All of that's on the table. My gut feeling is that they will try to hold this case together as it stands and say that the overwhelming amount of evidence is that this did not influence to that point that he didn't get a fair trial. But boy, these lawyers are going to press that hard. And as I said, I believe it would probably be raised up all the way to the Supreme Court, and it'll go state Supreme Court, obviously, but it's going to be hard to. I don't know that the state would grant that. Who knows the way our Supreme Court's making rulings right now? Who knows what would happen? But we don't know. Patriot Mobile, folks. Patriot Mobile. We are brought to you today by Patriot Mobile. Use that promo code Cornbread. What a great company. America First, stands on the First and Second Amendment, stands for the preborn. They're a company of faith based in Texas. Great folks to deal with, have great customer service. I know because I've dealt with it. We have our business phone with Patriot Mobile. We're moving some personal phones over as we speak. We're trying to arrange all that as we close out things. And my co-host Rob is fixed to move his personal phone over to Patriot Mobile. And you'll get savings. They've got different levels of use depending on how much you use your phone. All calls and texts are always free. Then you get your data level that you think you'll use. You're not charged anymore. It would just slow down for that point. So choose the right one. Prices start at $26 a month plus your little bit of fees and taxes, and so it's just a little over $30, I believe, for the base plan a month. That's not bad, folks. And you're paying into a company that is a stand-up company. We don't have to say it. Our followers that have Patriot Mobile as their plan come in and tell us how great they are. But we can say that as well as being a customer. Make the switch today, and we're in the loyalty program. I like that word loyalty. This lady didn't have loyalty, right? Becky Hill didn't have loyalty, no loyalty. She broke trust. When you follow a company like Patriot Mobile, become a part of their family, you're part of that loyalty program too. It's their loyalty to you and as a business, and their promises to you, and then you also help the Southern Fried Cornbread Nation, and we appreciate that. But don't forget our other affiliates, Mammoth Nation, Podbean, which we're going live with this morning, and which will stream out to all the audio sites that we have, or just about all of them. I think one of them we load up separately, and W Energy Drinks. We'll take a quick commercial and we'll go Mammoth Nation. What a great company as well. We've got to get back to putting our vendors up and highlighting our vendors. We've got some that we try to highlight. There's so many in there. Basically, when you become a member of Mammoth Nation, that discount is earned back. Whatever you're paying Mammoth, which starts as little as $5 a month, you're going to get that in the first order you make in savings from one of these vendors. I promise you that. I've ordered many things through the vendors program, hats and different things that as I found places that I liked and supported, and they're all America made, America first companies. So Mammoth Nation, we'll be right back. Hey, Southern Fried fans and your Cornbread Nation. Well, yeah, that's right. We're going to advertise for Mammoth Nation. To all proud Americans, we call attention to these thoughts. Are you tired of woke corporations that don't align with your values? I know we are. Look no further than Mammoth Nation, the ultimate destination for patriots like you and me, and Rob and everybody else, including old crazy Uncle Jeb, who believe in putting America first. Here at the Southern Fried Podcast, we're proud to partner with Mammoth Nation because they share our unwavering commitment to faith, family, and yes, freedom. Just like us, Mammoth Nation believes in the power of the American spirit and the importance of preserving our great nation's heritage. When you join Mammoth Nation, you're not just getting access to amazing discounts on products and services. You're becoming a part of a community that stands against the forces trying to tear our country apart. From supporting veterans and first responders to promoting Christian values, Mammoth Nation is the go-to platform for conservatives who want to make their voices heard. So what are you waiting for? Join the Mammoth Nation movement today and start enjoying exclusive deals from businesses that share your America First values. Together, we can make America great again, one purchase at a time. Don't miss out on this opportunity to support a company that truly cares about our nation's future. Sign up for Mammoth Nation now and experience the difference of a community that puts America first. Use that QR code on the screen, folks, and that will take you right to the website where we also will be helped in your support of these values. We are customers of this great American company. Rob is a monthly supporter, and I am a lifetime member of Mammoth Nation. We're so appreciative of companies like this. Please be a supporter, not just for us, but for America. These companies need our support. We're patriots. Stand together with patriots. Take care, and God bless. All right, we're back. Thank you for riding through the commercial break and letting us put our affiliate out there, Mammoth Nation. I promise you, you need to get on their email, if nothing else, and look at their weekly, and Patriot Mobile as well, their weekly stand on the issues. They're not just talking it. It's not just an ad with them. They are promoting it every day. Out every week, you'll get they have their own video series that they will do, which they cover major issues and or email or both, and it's always on point. So they're fighting the good fight. while remaining a business, and I applaud that. Let's talk a little bit of other news this morning on a Saturday on Southern Talk. I'm Dave in the AM, your host, the Cornbread Man, dubbed by my good friend, the Angry Conservative podcast on Rumble. If you don't have Rumble, by the way, get Rumble. Rumble is the safe place to be. We don't not against any other stream. We're on about 15 different streams this morning, counting some doubles that we're doing. But Rumble is the one that has been protecting free speech the most, and we appreciate them. And sometimes we do. And go premium, support them. Go premium. If you pay by the year, you save even more money. I mean, $9 or $10 a month, depending on I think it's $10 a month. You go 8 or 9 if you pay by the year, something like that. It's well worth it. There's a family of podcasters that are great. And if you're a podcaster that happens to stop by and you would like to just reach out to us as we get to know each other, we'll help promote you. Everybody's been a blessing to us. In fact, I put on the screen our friends. Those are our channels at the top. We have several, including our personal ones. But Killer Carl, one of a really big podcaster on the channel. Love Killer Carl's programs. Always on point. Tells it like it is. And James is with him on stage a lot, on Saturdays especially. He has his own Empty Pockets podcast. He talks about cars and government and politics and everything else. Kim's Coffee Talk from Woodstock, Georgia. She's a breath of fresh air in the morning. She'll get you fired up and going. The dialogue box, our good friend Regina from England. And we've done some things with her. Be doing more. She runs a lot. You'll get a workout just watching her videos. And a deep thought, a deep cleansing of your thoughts and soul. Of course, there's the Angry Conservative. Don't miss his interview series, of which I was honored to be a part of the interview series, Angry Conservative from the great state of Alabama. And of course, our friend Steve at Half Pine Forge, our Celtic blacksmith, who makes all those great things. You can kind of sort of see the triangle on the wall. I've got to get it hanging up. I got to get me a leather piece to hang that up. And got some other things from him as well, hooks, and he got something new I want. Got a necklace that he did. But he's some of these were from Pennsylvania, some of these from Georgia, some of these from Ohio. A great family of podcasters. Follow them all. Watch as much as you can. And also our good friends at Voice of Rural America, and Fetch Your News Media, FYN Media, who has built our website and continuing to do some additions to it, southernfriedcornbreadnation.com, where we'll have an embedded player there here before long. But a political show that airs Monday through Friday, and usually about 3 hours long, 2 to 3 hours long, and covers a lot of politics on the state level of Georgia and the national level. Appreciate them very much. Let me get their card added as well. And then some of our friends that we know that are small business, and we try to promote them. So we just try to be a help. President Trump says to Walmart, full disclosure here, I do a little security through another subcontracted to Walmart. I do that. In fact, I'll be there today. Do a little security. They're great folks, been great to me. But they are one of the big box stores, obviously, one of the biggest. And Trump has said to them, President Trump's, eat the tariffs instead of raising prices. Some news that came out today. He said that Walmart should, quote, eat the tariffs, end quote, instead of blaming duties imposed on imported goods for the retailers' increased prices. His comments were in response to the world's largest retailer saying this week that it would have to start raising prices later this month due to the high cost of tariffs. He said, quote, Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made, in capital letters, billions of dollars last year, far more than expected. Trump said in his post on his Truth social media. Between Walmart and China, they should, as it said, eat the tariffs and not charge value customers anything, capital letters. So it's true. They're trying to come to agreement on these tariffs. We knew it was going to be a bumpy ride. Even they said that, the administration, was going to be a bumpy ride ahead, and that they would move forward. Just a quick mention of the bloodbath in Ukraine and Russia. Um, a just it's just absolutely horrible over there. Again, still with the carnage, the less than people being sent back into the front lines that are injured. Um, it's just horrible. Got to continue to press for peace there, and you know, President Trump is trying to push that effort forward. It's going to have to keep working there. It's hard to get the mechanisms of war stopped once they're in motion. It really really is, and it's horrible, and it's horrible for. I remember last weekend on our Patriot Talk, we had a citizen of Russia come in on the Podbean, a good friend who has been on before, and he doesn't want any of that in his. He wants his country out of that. He's not for that. Most people are not for war. Obviously, when you go to war, you got to root for your country. You would think they would, most cases, because you're going to be patriotic. But nobody wants war. The rich and powerful like war, um, but it is it's ugly, and it continues to get ugly. A bus was hit, and 9 were killed in a strike on a civilian bus in Ukraine. Horrible images of the bus. Thankfully, not seeing the bodies. It was a drone attack on a minibus in northeastern Ukraine. Now, that's getting over there close to the Kursk region where there has been incursions into Russia by Ukraine. That's been a hot spot for fighting. Regional military leaders said that 7 others were injured in the attack Saturday morning in Pelia, as a minibus traveled to Sunny, the regional capital close to Russia's border. The strike occurred just hours after Russia and Ukraine held their first face-to-face talks in more than 3 years. Little was achieved, but a prisoner swap was agreed. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attack on the bus was, quote, a deliberate killing of civilians, end quote. Russia has not commented, but state media reported that forces had hit, quote, a military staging area, end quote, in the Sunny province. Zelensky said Russian forces could not help but understand what kind of vehicle they were hitting. He said a family, a mother, father, and their daughter were among those killed in the attack. Citing preliminary information, Sunny's regional head, Ole Hirahorov, said the bus was hit by a Russian Lancet drone at 6:17 local time Saturday. He described the attack as inhumane. Friday's talks in Istanbul, Turkey, did not lead to any breakthroughs as Ukraine and Russia remain far apart on how to end the war. Well, everybody wants what they want. They don't want to compromise. It was agreed that there would be 1,000 prisoners of war released from each side in the coming days. Zelensky, of course, many of those will probably go into line of battle on the Ukrainian side for sure, if they're men, old men and boys as well. Zelensky said the talks that as on any day of this war, there was an opportunity to cease fire. Ukraine has been offering this for a long time. Well, I know they've done their things too. It's a violent hit. I don't think I'd be one of driving anywhere on near the Russian border right now on that side of the Russian border. Following the Istanbul discussions, Ukraine reiterated its call for a full and unconditional ceasefire with a deal with Russia, but a deal with Russia remains elusive. Ukraine said the next step would be to direct talks between Zelensky and Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Russia said it has taken notice of the request. Oh my goodness. Trump says that nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together. He wasn't going if I wasn't there, and I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together. And believe it or not, this has been going on since February of 2022. February of 2022. Remember the paid expert military generals? This will be over in less than 2 months. Russia will They will conquer Ukraine. Well, it didn't happen. Ukraine used Sunday to launch offensive into Russia's Kursk region in August. Russia drove the majority of Ukraine's troops back earlier this year. That was that big offensive we heard about. Remember all the hundreds that ran through the pipe and come up behind them and flank the Ukrainians? That was earlier. And has intensified cross-border artillery and air attacks in recent months. Earlier this week, before its talks began with Ukraine, Russia carried out drone attacks across the region, killing 3 people, injuring 9, according to Sunday's regional military administration. On Saturday, Ukrainian drones reportedly struck at an ammunition depot in Crimea, a region illegally annexed by Russia in 2014. According to Reuters, Ukraine's strike caused the detonation of warehouses where military equipment, weapons, and fuel was stored. And that's what Ukraine is sort of left with, is they hit ships or they hit convoys or they hit depots or something like that, and they just try to hold the line and keep the Russians from advancing and taking more territory. It's a stalemate right now, and it's a bloodbath. The president's words, and the president is correct. It is a bloodbath. There's no doubt about that. So it is very, very sad, very, very sad. It just continues to go on, and there's absolutely no end in sight that we can see. So, good sports weekend. I'm looking for some All-Star NASCAR action. Be looking baseball. If you're a Braves fan, they put together a little win last night against Boston. They're above 500 for the first time. There you go. A lot of basketball and football news as well. And hopefully the weather be great. I know we've had some bad storms coming across the South and the Midwest. But hopefully you'll see a lot better weather. And, we've gotten our fair share of rain, that's for sure. That's absolutely for sure. I'll look and see what our region today. We're going to top out at 89 degrees, a little warmer with some clouds and sunshine. Low 64, but it drops down to 82 and 66 for Sunday. Looks like the rain is there is a chance it will increase on Monday. Looks like storms return Monday, Tuesday. A couple of showers Wednesday, then back to sunny and cooler weather. Oh, 66 and 49 next Thursday. Strange weather. Strange weather. Then back to rain on the weekend. So we're going to continue to get inundated with the rain. Oh, my goodness. Wife we have a meeting Tuesday, and I'm hoping that she will. We're supposed to discuss her discharge date and how soon that could be. I know she's looking for it. So we look forward to having her back home. Me and my granddaughter, she's like today, like, we got to go shopping. I don't normally do that. Papa, we got to go grocery shopping. San Francisco 49ers football team. Brock Purdy, 5-year, $265 million deal. Never thought that would happen, right? When he first kind of showed up on the scene out of almost like nowhere. Held off the big hot rookie. Wow. Did he make that payoff? He's been, he's had them right there in the playoffs. They haven't put it all the way together right to the Super Bowl. But he has, he's been consistent, steady. He just wins. It's like Brady almost. Brady kind of come out of nowhere a little bit. Of course, he don't have the championships yet, but the 49ers have a very good team. He gets $181 million of that 265 is guaranteed. Guaranteed. So no matter what happens, he gets paid $181 million. He was known as being Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last pick in the 2022 NFL draft, giving hope to all rookies, freshmen, rookies, whatever you want to say, who get drafted in that spot. The hope that, yes, I could make a difference. I can make my way. That's happened a couple times. Not this level. I think he sets the record for Mr. Irrelevant. Wow. There's money to be made. That's the thing. You got your rookie contract. Then when you get toward the end of that, you're looking for your payday. And some of these that didn't get drafted, they're just trying to get on a team that thought they were going to be drafted. But good job for him. I'm not a 49er fan at all, but a very good deal for him. Think of all the quarterbacks who were taken ahead of him. Think of all the players that were taken ahead of him. And now he's one of the most storied franchises in the NFL. And I know some people don't watch NFL no more. I get it. I understand that. I'm still a sports fan. I'm not defending the actions of any of the idiots, we'll say, the kneelers and the anti-American seeming talk and all that. I'm not. But I haven't seen him do this. I like to paint the brush. Every player is not the spoiled brat that some are. There are some that are really good people, and they're good Christians, and they're making a difference in their communities. And that I can applaud. We may not like the franchise, but I tend to look at people. And to this young man, I have respect for that. I've watched him play several times. He has, people tend to dismiss him, and all he does is mostly win. He gets his payday. And by the way, I don't. Some people get jealous at that. I don't get jealous at that. I applaud that. Way to go, young man. You're living the American dream. You have made it. You have come out of nowhere obscurity. You have showed your skills, what you can do at the highest level. When everybody said that you couldn't do it, you did it. And now you get paid. And you can go on and continue to do that. And no matter what happens, you're well compensated. Just go play ball. I applaud that. I do. I applaud that. Good job. You know why? I don't get jealous of people's successes. He's worked hard. Yeah, he's taken the hits. He's taken the pressure. He's worked. He's done his due diligence. He's worked. He's raised his game up in the face of people saying he couldn't do it, in the face of other athletes that they felt would walk the dog over this guy. He's done it. That's an American success story, and I think that should be applauded. And I think he's a nice person from everything I've read about him. He seems to be a very nice person, and he's good for his community and for his team. And I applaud that. I might not be a fan of the team, but I'm a fan of his. And I sit and celebrate with him, if I can get the words out. And so I appreciate that. All right, this is the end of Southern Talk. We'll be back shortly, just a little few minutes, with our weekend MAGA report. Southern Fried MAGA. We don't call it the MAGA report. Southern Fried MAGA. We'll dive a little deeper. Biden. When we jump back into that, Biden's deficiencies on display. Report released this weekend. Her report. The audio recordings. The shock and awe of it all. We'll be back. Pray for the president. Absolutely. We're going to talk about that too. We'll jump back in that a little bit. James Comey, you dirtbag. Don't even try to act like you didn't know what you were doing. Let's just call it scumbag, right? Scumbag. I'd love to see him perp walk. I'll say it. We'll be back in a moment. We'll go out with some music. Hope everybody has a great Saturday. Join us again if you can. If not, have a great weekend. God bless you. God bless you and your family. I hope you're safe. I hope you haven't suffered loss. It's always hard. The storms are very sad. So I'll take care.